Welcome to Hidden Reality. Imagine you're on a routine flight. The sun is shining and you're casually live streaming the beautiful view to your friends. You have no idea that, on the other side of the cockpit door, a single, silent mistake has just doomed everyone on board. Today in this explainer, we're unpacking exactly how quickly the most mundane, everyday situations can twist into bizarre, terrifying, and even fatal scenarios, all caught entirely on film.
To understand these stark, terrifying shifts in reality, we've organized this footage into an escalating anthology of case files. We'll explore the bizarre mucus cure, the silent digital watcher, a fatal descent into the blue hole, the tragedy on Flight 691, and a shockingly dangerous live television broadcast. He was very scared, lol. This chilling, seemingly innocent quote was attached to a dark piece of internet footage we're going to look at shortly. It perfectly sets the tone for the profound mysteries and sudden tragedies we're about to explore.
We start our investigation with case file number 1, the bizarre mucus cure.
We begin with something absurdly weird. On an unearthed VHS tape from the glory days of public access television, a man named Arthur Bloom appeared on a show called Something's Happening. He presented a supposed medical discovery with absolute deadpan seriousness. He called it toxic mucus. According to Bloom, this was a previously undiscovered liquid lurking in the human mouth. He spun a wildly false, apocalyptic narrative, claiming this mysterious substance was causing birth defects and, in his own words, killing the world. His extraction method was a completely laughable pseudoscience experiment. He started by spraying grape juice onto a mold, moving it left and right to liquefy this supposed mucus. Then he took the extracted liquid and literally burned it on a rock with a butane torch. As it bubbled, he claimed the resulting sizzle was toxic fat backfiring. It's a fascinating look at how convincingly bizarre misinformation could spread, even long before the internet age. But the internet did eventually arrive, bringing with it a new kind of terror. Case File 2, the silent digital watcher. Escalating from the eccentric oddities of public access TV, we enter deeply unsettling territory with a YouTube channel known as Vin Duma. The surviving footage paints a highly uncomfortable picture of a silent, voyeuristic stalker. The channel features only 4 low-quality videos uploaded between 2009 and 2011, all recorded in Brisbane, Australia. The clips capture highly detached, non-interactive observations of strangers. We see students joking around before a night out, schoolgirls singing, and a remarkably distant recording of an above-and-beyond performance at a nightclub. The person filming never interacts. They just watch from the shadows. And this brilliant, awful tension peaks in one specific upload titled, "Following a Teeny Bopper Home." The camera relentlessly pursues a young person at night. Suddenly, the subject notices they're being watched and sprints away in pure fear across a road. Rather than calling out or explaining himself, the filmer silently retreats, hiding behind a street sign before the footage just abruptly ends. It leaves us with a terrifying, unanswered mystery. Did the person escape, or did the watcher follow them into the dark? Our next piece of footage moves from psychological discomfort to fatal reality. Case File 3, Descent into the Blue Hole. We're looking at the tragic helmet camera footage of 22-year-old diving instructor Yuri Lipsky, recorded in Egypt's notorious Blue Hole on April 28, 2000. An experienced technical diver named Tariq Amar had reportedly warned Lipsky that he needed highly specialized training for this specific, dangerous dive. Yuri ignored the warning, entering the sinkhole and descending far too quickly. As you drop to extreme depths, the immense pressure fundamentally changes how gases affect the human brain. Breathing normal air becomes incredibly toxic, triggering nitrogen narcosis. This causes severe confusion, intense panic, hallucinations, and dangerously impaired judgment.
Yuri reached the seabed over 100 meters down. That is a staggering, crushing depth. Isolated in total darkness, suffering from the intense effects of narcosis, and unable to inflate his buoyancy compensator to rise back to the surface, a panicked Yuri tragically removed his own air regulator. His camera captured a horrifying reality, a man falling deeper into the abyss, far beyond the reach of help, until there was simply no way back.
The margin for error is just as razor-thin in the sky. Case File 4, Tragedy on Flight 691. We now approach Nepal's deadliest domestic aviation disaster, breaking down the cascade of technical and human errors that brought down Yeti Airlines Flight 691 on January 15, 2023. During the descent to Pokhara, Captain Anshu Katiwada requested that the flaps be extended. However, Captain Kamal KC, who was monitoring, apparently moved the condition levers instead. These two sets of controls are differently shaped but sit right next to each other on the center pedestal. Moving the condition levers feathered the propellers. This completely neutralized the aircraft's thrust, turning the blades so they produced zero resistance and zero power, despite both engines still running perfectly fine. This fatal mix-up ultimately led to an aerodynamic stall.
Official investigators revealed this wasn't just a single tragic slip of the hand. It was the devastating culmination of compounding systemic issues. There was a shortened approach path, totally inadequate crew coordination, and a dangerously high cockpit workload. Furthermore, they were using this commercial flight as an unplanned training opportunity, completely breaking down standard sterile cockpit discipline when they needed it most.
The stark contrast of those final moments is deeply haunting. Up front, the cockpit struggled to understand why the plane was losing airspeed, with the captain stating twice that there was no power. Meanwhile, back in the cabin, passenger Sonu Jaiswal was happily broadcasting a Facebook live stream of a perfectly normal sunny flight. The passengers couldn't see the levers. They were completely unaware they were seconds away from an aerodynamic stall. They didn't know anything was wrong until the cabin violently shook and the live stream captured the fiery crash.
Adding an immeasurable, heartbreaking weight to this tragedy, Captain Anju Katiwada had actually pursued her aviation career after losing her husband. He died in a crash involving the exact same airline, Yeti Airlines, 16 years prior. She was reportedly incredibly close to finally qualifying as a full captain before Flight 691 went down.
For our final case file, we look at a disaster that was narrowly avoided. Case File 5, Shocking Live Television Broadcast.
We shift gears to see how dangerously close a totally mundane news report came to becoming a live broadcast fatality. It takes us to a rainy Brazilian grape festival in February 1996. Reporter Lassier Martins was conducting a completely ordinary television segment. Holding a wired microphone, he presented a ruby grape mutation to the camera, saying, "This is a grape." Suddenly, an invisible threat completely disrupts the broadcast, ending with a frantic, awkward cut to the sports segment.
What actually happened was terrifying. Without any warning, Lassier touched a wet, energized metal display frame. A massive surge of 220 volts of electricity traveled directly through his body. The shock violently threw him backward, instantly knocking him unconscious and actually fracturing a rib when he hit the ground.
But that brutal backward fall is exactly what saved his life. The wet conditions and the grounded microphone in his hand had created a highly effective route for the electricity. If that shock had forced his muscles to clench and collapse forward onto the live wire, he wouldn't have been able to let go. This highly viral piece of television history was just a fraction of an inch away from recording his final moments live on air.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. How quickly can an unremarkable, everyday moment become a permanent, dark piece of history? Ultimately, all of these case files remind us that life doesn't always provide a cinematic, dramatic buildup. Sometimes the line between an ordinary sunny day or a routine television broadcast and the end of everything is as thin as reaching out and touching the wrong object. It's a stark reminder that reality can shift in the blink of an eye. If you enjoy uncovering hidden truths, subscribe to Hidden Reality and join us for more extraordinary stories.